What's going on, my ninjas? I am Strident. What is up, Dar? It's been a while, man. I've been watching your videos, and I just saw your uh, your Joe Talk, your properly titled Joe Talk video. I'm glad you jumped on the topic because more Joe collectors, I wish, would speak up and have something to say about what's going on with their favorite line. Um, it's one of those things that it's been boggling my mind for a while, but I understand now what's going on with our beloved GI Joe. The big thing is I think that collectors have become complacent. We're in a time where everything is an action figure. Everything, even things that don't have action in them, have become action figures. So you have so much variety that GI Joe lost its foothold. There was a point in time where if you wanted a 3 3/4 inch action, like a soldier or a character, G.I. Joe was the only one next to Star Wars, you know what I mean? And then there were a couple in between, like Indiana Jones and Mask. They weren't 3 3/4 inch, but they were small, you know what I'm saying? Dino Riders, but they weren't as cool as the Joes were. And it seemed like you were, back then, you were forced to stick with G.I. Joe because they were the only ones presented in that scale with the amount of cool shit that you get. Um, but as you know, Hasbro makes Marvel Universe now. Mattel's made 3 3/4 inch figures of just about everything they did. They had the Infinite Heroes. I think that's what they were called. The tiny little DC Universe characters. Um, you have, I mean, just shit like you still have Star Wars. You have Chapme making stuff. You have BBI making stuff. You have, 21st Century Toys. You have, you have all these people, not just all these companies, not just in the U.S. but abroad. You have Bandai making everything in 3/4 inches, as far as or as well as their 6 and 7 and 10 inch and 1/10 scale and whatever. They make all the scales. You know what I mean? So GI Joe just can't compete. I mean, have you ever seen? I've shown you guys the SIC figures compared to a GI Joe. You may as well burn your Joes because the SIC figures are way better. The articulation is better. Accessory count is just as good. It's like the best GI Joe figures don't have the level of detail or paint that the simplest SIC has. You know what I mean? SIC Kiwami Tamashi. So I think what it is that Hasbro, instead of upping the ante and getting better, they're kind of just like, fuck it. We'll do less. I mean, you see the new Marvel Universe figures, 5 points of articulation. We're going back to that shit. And the fans are like, oh, they're awesome. Hasbro's realizing they don't have to try to make to make profits. That's why they make shit. And then they sell it to you and tell you, oh, it's great, it's awesome, you're going to love it. And the fans say, oh yeah, Hasbro told me I'm going to love it. So they love it. Like you pointed out, you look at the merchandise and it's just like, you see Marvel everything, but you don't see anything else offered the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess you see Marvel stuff, you see your Disney stuff, you see your, like My Little Ponies and shit like that, but you don't see G.I. Joe, Hasbro's flagship figure line. You don't see them offered and represented the way that we have in the past, and that's one thing you pointed out. And you're 1,000% correct. And then they're not moving into the present by giving us new games and a new cartoon, like a way updated cartoon. Because I don't care how many people like Renegades, it was garbage. The characterizations of a lot of the characters were off, and it was mostly the main characters. I mean, people like Tunnel Rat, he was perfect. Roadblock was fine. I didn't really have issues with him. Scarlet was okay. Duke was just stupid. Flint was just fucking stupid. Uh, a lot of the Cobra characters were just weird, even though, um, what's his name? Destro looked weird, but his personality was perfect, and they even got the right accent for a change. So, you know, it did some things right. Like a lot of the guest stars that were Joes that we know, I liked their personalities, but I didn't like the fact that they were just presented as soldiers that exist in the real world as opposed to Joes. There's a distinct difference, and it's as if the writers and Hasbro, they're ashamed of what made a Joe, and they don't want to carry that forward anymore. They want to keep simplifying it, you know, oh, we're just average Joes. No, you're not. G.I. Joes are not average. You know what I mean? Stealing the whole premise of the A-Team and then putting G.I. Joe in that. G.I. Joe stood on its own. You don't need to take any other premise and try to put that with a G.I. Joe spin on it, you know? And they didn't even put a spin on it. They literally just put the Joes in place of the A-Team. It's just, I don't know, it's whack. They've lost their direction when it comes to G.I. Joe, and it's sad. And, you know, I blame the fans because the quote-unquote fans, even though there's a lot of diehard fans that, like you said, they were fans from the onset all the way to now, and they introduced it to their kids and such, a lot of them have forgotten what G.I. Joe is about. You know what I mean? They will buy anything that says G.I. Joe on it, regardless of the quality and regardless of how thematically correct it is. You know, when you collect different lines, you see there's themes, you know, Mask, it's a pilot, driver, and a vehicle that transforms into another vehicle. That's the theme. If they started giving you a driver and a car that does not transform, and then you know, in the package you have both forms of the same vehicle, but one doesn't transform into the other, we'd have problems, right? Because that's not the theme. It's thematically incorrect. Transformers. Buying a Transformer that doesn't transform, and then you have the alt mode separate, that's not a Transformer. I don't care even if it is a articulated figure of one of the characters and then their vehicle mode. That's not Transformers. The whole point is that they transform. It's one part, you know, robot, one part car, one part puzzle. If it doesn't do all three of those things in one, then you failed. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same thing anymore. They patent these things according to, you know, their very specific functions, you know? And a lot of the fans just really don't fucking get it. And if they get it, they've forgotten and they've gotten into a rut or a routine of just seeing the title card. You see G.I. Joe, you put it in a cart and you buy it. And that shouldn't be. You should want your figure lines to evolve. You know, as you get older, your tastes should evolve. You know what I mean? At least just a little bit if it's going to evolve at all. You want more for what you pay. I mean, if the prices can evolve, why can't the figure itself evolve? And we saw an evolution when Rise of Cobra started, and then it turned into Pursuit of Cobra, and then it 30th anniversary, it kind of tapered off. You started getting less in there. You had a couple standout examples, but you were starting to get less, and then it just took a nosedive with Retaliation in everything. Story, characters, the figures, the vehicles. You just weren't getting as much. You weren't getting as good of a quality of your figures. You weren't getting the selection. You just weren't getting what you were paying for. And to me, it's not worth it, you know? And I can hear it in your voice. You dig you love the franchise. Just like me, I love the franchise. I grew up with that shit, you know? You were 5 when you saw it. I was about 5 when it came out. So I was either 5 or 6. But, you know, I was about the same age, and it stuck with me. You know, I still go back and play with the ones I have. It's just I refuse to pay the money for the ones they have now. Garish colors, again. All of you quote-unquote fans that complained about Ninja Force and Echo Warriors, and you turn around and you buy it again when it's offered as an exclusive with the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. Then you buy the garishly colored 50th anniversary figures for this year. I mean, what is the deal? Why complain at one point, you know, and then turn around and buy it when the same shit is offered again in a new package? It's just inconsistency amongst the fans, and you know, frankly, that's what's killing it. If the company doesn't know the direction to take the figures, and they offer 10 different things, and the fans buy all 10 things up in bulk, how do they know which thing works? All of these various, like from Pursuit of Cobra to now, they've been testing to see what style of figure works. Can they sell a cheaper figure with less weaponry? Or those were the Dollar General figures. Will that work? Is that the new home for G.I. Joe? We sell, you know, $6 figures with minimal paint work, mostly, you know, cast in the right color or a color, you know what I mean? And then, you know, give them a stand and just say it's this guy. Boom. Will that be the new place where you buy G.I. Joes? Is that how they were going to be sold from now on? Scalpers and fans alike just bought all that shit up. So they say, okay, fine, we can't tell with that. Let's move on to something else. They had done the 30th anniversary where they kind of scaled down what a Pursuit of Cobra release was. And then, you know, throw in a couple really awesome figures. And they're like, okay, can we do that? Freaking Storm Shadow cost over $100 because he was so quote-unquote rare. And then every other figure on the secondary market, their prices were all crazy, but you guys bought them all up. I even bought them up because, you know me, I was in for anything in the Pursuit of Cobra style, and that's what we were getting, only under the 30th anniversary moniker. Retaliation comes out, just shit. With the exception of like a handful of figures, including the Joe Trooper, the Cobra Combat Ninja, and I don't know, a couple of the Ultimate figures, but it was like 4 or 5 figures out of the whole entire line. And then the vehicles were just like, I was happy to get a new hiss, but I was really happy with the Pursuit of Cobra hisses. I was hoping to get more of that. But I was happy to have new hisses because now I have 4 or 5 hisses, you know, and before I only had 1. No, I had 2. I'm sorry. The Ninja, whatever that thing was called, the Ninja Jeep attack cruiser truck thingamabob, poorly constructed. You had to glue parts in place. I've never glued parts in place for my Joe stuff. I usually just click them together the way they were intended, and nothing happened after that. You know what I mean? I threw the things around. I drove them all over the house. My son drives them all over the house. No issues. That one, try to pick it up by the roof. The roof comes off. It just was shitty quality. Shitty quality. And if you say something like on places like His Tank or General Joe's or whatever, the dick riders will attack you because they say you're dissing the franchise. Essentially, if you say something bad, it'll disappear. No, I'm calling it how it is. I couldn't believe the amount of reviews at the time that I stopped reviewing Joe's, which was the tail end of Retaliation. I stopped reviewing because I got tired of, I'm seeing my reviews as the only ones where I actually am making comparisons to existing figures from just a couple years prior. I'm the only person pointing out shit like the fact that a lot of the characters were just repainted. And if you have the other one, there's no need for this. You're literally buying the exact same thing over and over and over. And people are dissing what I'm saying as if it didn't make any sense. Like I said, the fans just don't give a shit. They're in a routine, and anything contrary to that routine is just not going to fly for them. So, you know, we got shitty stuff until the shitty stuff, like all the crap with Retaliation, is what killed the line. It's what slowed it down. It's why Toys R Us is the main place that you find Joe's. Because when they pulled all the toys for the delay of Retaliation, a lot of retailers were like, fuck that shit, I don't want this in my store anymore. We don't even know if you're going to actually come with all the stuff you said you were going to come with. Because look, you did that a couple of months ago, and now you possibly could do it again. And G.I. Joe always, in recent years, has had distribution issues. So I'm pretty sure most of the retailers were just like, nope, don't want to do it. It's too much of a risk. And I don't blame them. You know, it makes perfect sense. So it's just one of those things, you know. And I agree with you. I've taken my energies and my efforts and I've started to spend them elsewhere, you know. Every now and then I go on eBay and I find a Joe that I was looking for that I forgot that I wanted. Because, you know, I've been so removed from it that I haven't really been paying attention to all the various Joes, like I had a list, and I stopped looking at the list, so I haven't been paying attention to the various Joes on my list that I haven't gotten. And it's only a few, but I just was like, fuck it, you know, if they don't care, I don't care. And I refuse to pay $10 plus for subpar figures. You know what I mean? I'd rather pay $12 on eBay for older figures that I know are worth the money and up to that standard that I like than pay $10 for subpar figures in retail. It just doesn't make any sense. And you know they're subpar, shitty plastics, crappy, poorly colored weapons and stuff, like orange weapons. The fuck out of here. It's 2015. You go like one aisle over, and you got all this chime shit that, even though it's weird looking in some ways with the characters, the weapons are the right colors. If you're in Target, you go a couple shelves over, and you've got what do they call it? Elite Force. And even though some of those figures are shitty, the weapons are still colored the right way. You know, there's a variety of characters, and the shelves are usually stocked. Vehicles that are huge, lights and sounds, like all the shit that we used to get in G.I. Joe packages that we don't get anymore. Yet these things cost half of what the Joe stuff costs, and they're giving us 10 times more. What's the deal with that? And fans just don't pay attention to this stuff anymore. So I just say, you know, you're doing the right shit. You're not making a mistake by you know, putting your efforts into something else. I totally feel you. You know, it's just one of those things, man. Maybe sometime down the line, this will change, and we'll get back our old school, you know, quality G.I. Joe, and we can geek out and start collecting them again. I planned on doing some more reviews because I was so kind of depressed at the state of G.I. Joe, because I just don't go on his tank anymore. Every now and then I'll pop up just to see what new stuff is out. I got my Marauders Task Force figure about a month ago, and I need to do a review of that. But I've just been so, you know, annoyed with the state of G.I. Joe that I just was like, fuck it, man. I'm not even going to pay attention to G.I. Joe anymore like that. You know, I'm not going to devote my reviews to that. You know what I mean? But I kind of feel like the old Joes, people need to see reviews of the older Joes so that they can totally see that they've completely lost what made it a special line, what made it a line that really endured for, you know, 50 years. Because they tried at one point in time. They just don't try anymore, you know? You look at Ninja Turtles, and like every single thing that Hasbro has said in various interviews, at various toy fairs, everything they've said about how expensive it is, just like they said about Marvel Legends and shit like that. You look over at Playmates and Ninja Turtles, complete opposite. You look over at Bandai, it's 1,000% the opposite. And there's import costs because they sell that stuff here too. They offer everything in every scale, and you don't really lose quality, you know? There are figures of lesser quality, but they still stand up to a beating, so you know you're getting quality plastics. When you get up to the collector's levels, you have so many things to choose from, so many scales, you know what I mean? And I've said this before, and supposedly you keep hearing from Hasbro that the cost of plastics is going up so much, yet gas prices are down, which means petroleum prices are down. But they keep telling you that the prices are going up. I mean, have you been to the gas station? Gas is like $2 and some change now. Remember a couple years back, it was like $4? So like, why is it the rest of the world is moving forward and some things, the prices are fluctuating, going down right now, and then maybe when things get worse again or get annoying again, it'll go up. But like right now, the specific thing, petroleum, gasoline, is fucking, it's at a low. And Hasbro is still telling you it's at a high. And you still have people on blogs who know folks in the industry and shit telling you that it's so expensive to make action figures. They have to make 12 figures in a line to pay for one figure. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That math is all jacked up. You know? I don't know. It's strange. It's too much scamming and too much fast talking and too much politics. I just want to enjoy my figures. That's why I collect. I want my sons to enjoy collecting figures, you know what I mean? And watching the cartoons that go with them, or whatever, the movies, whatever. But I want us to geek out, you know, me, my ninjas, everybody who's involved. I just want to geek out, have fun. We all talk about it, and that's it. Instead, it's becoming so complicated and so annoying, and there's all these ups and downs and blah, blah, blah. And they're being vocal about that stuff too, and I don't want to know all that stuff. I just want to see the shit that I want to buy as a consumer on the shelves. Make it so. That's all they need to do. So anyway, I'm glad you made that video. Hopefully more people will make these videos. The geniuses at Hasbro will see that we all are kind of we're onto their shit, you know? I mean, I'm sure they know that a few of us are onto their shit. Hopefully they'll see that we're all onto their shit once we all start doing this. And then they'll change their ways. The two new guys said that they are fans of G.I. Joe. Well, if you're fans of G.I. Joe, fix this shit. Fix it. Stop doing the same shit you guys been doing for the last, like, I don't know, almost 10 years. No, it's not even 10. Because Rise of Cobra was 2009? 2008, I think it was. And then, yeah, 2008. So it's been, you know, 6-7 years. Yeah, we need to stop. It needs to stop. It really does. You guys need to come up with a new plan that fixes all the issues and elevates this line. Because right now you're treading water, and, you know, even though there's a bunch of fans that dick ride everything you do, that's not enough to save the line. You know what I mean? It's enough to let you still be there, but I went to Toys R Us the other day. They had none of the new shit, but all the Snow Wolves, or whatever they were called, were peg warming like a motherfucker. And I knew this back then when they dropped it. I'm like, why, of all the things, of all the vehicles you could have reissued, why did you choose that one? And all the dick riders said, oh my God, I want one. Oh my God, take my money. Yet, we still got them in the shelves. What happened? Where'd all your steam go? You know what I mean? It's just, it's one of those things, man. So I feel your pain, homie. You can soothe that pain by remembering what made you want to collect action figures in general. Make that video. I'm looking forward to that. And for the rest of you, as always, vote with your wallet, man. It's the only way we can let them know what's up. So anyway, I'm Strident. That's my story. I'm sticking to it, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Peace outside.